The Widow of Zarephath, a story of faith, provision, and blessings. In the ancient land of Zarephath, during a time of severe famine, a widow struggled to keep her little family alive. Each day she watched her son grow weaker, her pantry emptier, and her hope dimmer. Life had become a battle of survival, and she had but one handful of flour and a little oil left, a meal that she knew would be their last. As she gathered sticks to prepare this final meal, a stranger approached. He was a prophet named Elijah, sent by God during a season of drought to seek refuge in her town. Hungry and tired, Elijah called out to her, "Please bring me a little water to drink and a piece of bread to eat." The widow stopped in her tracks, astonished. Did he not see her plight? How could she offer hospitality when she was on the brink of death? With a heavy heart, she replied, "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I have no bread. Only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Elijah's eyes softened, but his words carried unwavering faith. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Go home and do as you have said. But first, make a small loaf of bread for me and bring it to me. Then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. The jar of flour will not be used up and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." The widow hesitated, torn between fear and faith. But something in Elijah's voice ignited a spark of trust in her weary soul. She obeyed, preparing the bread with trembling hands and offering it to the prophet. And then, the miracle unfolded. Each time she returned to her pantry, the jar of flour was full, and the jug of oil brimmed anew. Day after day, the small family and their guest were sustained by the unending provision of God. But the blessings did not stop there. When her son fell ill and died, Elijah cried out to God on her behalf, and the boy's life was restored. The widow's tears of despair turned to tears of joy as she held her son, now alive and well, in her arms. The relevance today. This story speaks powerfully to our modern lives. In times of scarcity, be it in finances, relationships, or hope, it reminds us that faith can unlock blessings beyond measure. It teaches us to trust even when logic says otherwise, to give generously even when we feel we have nothing left, and to believe that God's provision is always sufficient. The widow's obedience led to abundance, and her faith became a testimony. In our struggles, may we too find courage to trust, to give, and to witness the miraculous power of God at work. Finding strength in the widow's faith. The widow's journey mirrors the silent battles many face today. How often do we feel like her, staring at dwindling resources, questioning how we'll make it through another day? The story resonates deeply because it reminds us that even in our most desperate moments, God sees us. He doesn't abandon us in our scarcity. Instead, he uses it as an opportunity to show his faithfulness. Imagine her initial fear as she gave away the little she had. It wasn't just bread, it was her last hope. Yet her willingness to act in faith brought blessings she couldn't have imagined. This echoes the principle Jesus later taught: "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." Luke 6:38. A call to action for us. Faith over fear. Like the widow, we are often called to step into the unknown. When fear whispers there isn't enough, faith counters God will provide. Trusting God doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means believing he is bigger than it. Generosity amid scarcity. The widow's act of giving reminds us that blessings flow through generosity. Whether it's our time, talents, or resources, when we place them in God's hands, he multiplies them to meet not just our needs, but those of others as well. Seeing God in the ordinary. The miracle wasn't flashy. It was in the quiet daily provision of flour and oil. In our lives, God often works through the mundane. Small acts of kindness, unexpected opportunities, or a friend's encouragement. Do we have eyes to see his hand at work? hope in the face of loss. The story takes an even deeper turn when the widow's son falls ill and dies. Her anguish could have turned to bitterness, but instead, it became a stage for God's resurrection power. In our losses, God promises to bring life again, maybe not in the way we expect, but always for our good and His glory. The modern application. In a world riddled with uncertainty, economic instability, natural disasters, personal trials, the story of the Widow of Zarephath offers a beacon of hope. It reminds us that God's economy doesn't operate on scarcity, but on abundance. Our job is to trust Him